Tonight, your immune system will probably destroy something before you ever know it was there. A virus trapped in your throat, a bacterium entering through a tiny cut, a damaged cell quietly removed before it becomes dangerous. It feels like a perfectly designed defense system. It isn't. Your immune system is less like a modern security network and more like an ancient weapon covered in repairs, upgrades, and warning labels. Some of its defenses protected your ancestors from parasites, epidemics, and infections. But those same defenses can damage your blood, attack your organs, or mistake your own body for the enemy. Because evolution never tried to build the healthiest possible human. It only had to keep your ancestors alive long enough to reproduce. And that created some truly strange compromises. Imagine living in a region where malaria kills children before they ever reach adulthood. The parasite enters through a mosquito bite, reaches the liver, then invades red blood cells by the millions. Those cells become factories. The parasite reproduces inside them until they rupture, releasing more parasites into the blood. For most people, normal red blood cells are exactly what the parasite wants. But some people carry a version of the hemoglobin gene that changes the shape and behavior of those cells. With one copy, this is called sickle-cell trait. These people can still become infected with malaria, but the trait reduces the parasite's ability to reach the same dangerous densities and lowers the risk of severe disease. In a world where malaria regularly killed children, that could be the difference between having descendants and disappearing from the gene pool. But there was a catch. If a child inherited the altered gene from both parents, their red blood cells could become rigid and sickle-shaped. The cells could block blood vessels, break apart prematurely, and cause severe pain, organ damage, anemia, and early death. One copy could provide an advantage. 2 copies could create a devastating disease. Evolution did not solve malaria. It found a compromise and charged some descendants the price. And sickle cell is not the only example. Your red blood cells need an enzyme called G6PD. Its job is to help protect the cell against chemical stress. Without enough of it, red blood cells become unusually fragile. Certain infections, foods, and medicines can trigger them to break apart suddenly. That can cause jaundice, anemia, weakness, and in severe cases, life-threatening complications. At first, a fragile blood cell sounds like an obvious evolutionary mistake. But malaria parasites also need a stable red blood cell. When the parasite infects a G6PD deficient cell, the added chemical stress can cause that cell to be removed before the parasite finishes reproducing. The evidence is complicated, and the amount of protection differs between populations and genetic variants. But some forms of G6PD deficiency appear to have been maintained partly because they reduced malaria risk, especially in regions where the disease was common. So once again, evolution made a trade. It made the red cell dangerous for the parasite. Unfortunately, it also made the red cell dangerous for its owner under the wrong conditions. But perhaps the strangest compromise begins with a parasite that does not attack red blood cells. It attacks the brain. African trypanosomes are microscopic parasites spread by tsetse flies. Once inside the body, they can multiply in the blood and eventually invade the nervous system. The resulting illness is called African sleeping sickness. Without treatment, it can disrupt behavior, sleep, movement, and eventually become fatal. Humans already produce a protein called a POL1 that destroys many trypanosomes by punching lethal channels into them. But some trypanosomes evolved a way to block that protein. So certain human populations evolved a POL1 variants that could fight back. One variant has been associated with roughly 5-fold protection against one form of human African trypanosomiasis. That sounds like an evolutionary victory. Until you look at the kidneys. People who inherit too high risk of POL1 variants have a substantially increased risk of several forms of progressive kidney disease. The same molecular weapon that can damage the parasite may also injure specialized kidney cells that filter the blood. What helped an ancestor survive a deadly parasite can increase a descendant's risk of kidney failure in a completely different environment. And these examples reveal a larger problem. Your immune system must constantly make decisions with incomplete information. Is this cell infected? Is this protein foreign? Is this inflammation strong enough? Should the body attack now or wait? If the response is too weak, an infection may spread. If it is too strong, healthy tissue becomes collateral damage. This is one reason immunity and autoimmunity are so closely connected. Many genetic variants involved in fighting pathogens also influence the risk of inflammatory and autoimmune diseases. A lower trigger threshold may detect an infection faster, but it may also make the immune system more likely to attack the joints, skin, gut, or nervous system. A stronger inflammatory response may have helped someone survive an infected wound thousands of years ago. Today, that same tendency may contribute to chronic inflammation long after the original threat is gone. Researchers repeatedly find signatures of natural selection around immune system genes, reflecting how strongly infections shaped human survival. But those adaptations can leave populations vulnerable to different diseases when environments change. This does not mean every allergy or autoimmune disease is a useful ancient adaptation. Evolutionary stories are easy to exaggerate. A gene can have several effects. Environments differ. A trait that helps in one population may do nothing or cause harm in another. Even famous examples can become less certain when better data arrive. The important idea is not that every disease once had a purpose. It is that natural selection works with trade-offs. It cannot redesign the body from scratch. It modifies whatever already exists. And it does not plan for the future. Mutation that protects a child from a parasite can spread even if it causes kidney disease at 50. Defense that increases survival during an epidemic can remain long after the epidemic disappears. Highly aggressive immune response can be valuable in a world full of untreated wounds and lethal infections, then become excessive in a world of sanitation, vaccines, antibiotics, and longer lives. Your immune system was not built for the world you live in. It was assembled across thousands of generations, each facing a slightly different collection of threats. Malaria, sleeping sickness, contaminated water, infected wounds, crowded settlements, animals carrying unfamiliar pathogens. Every outbreak left survivors, and the survivors left genes. Those genes are inside billions of people today, still performing jobs designed for battles that may no longer exist. So when your immune system protects you, it is using solutions inherited from people who survived worlds you would barely recognize. And when it malfunctions, sometimes you are seeing the other half of the same solution. The cost hidden inside the protection. The ancient compromise still running inside your body. Because evolution did not give you the best immune system imaginable. It gave you the immune system your ancestors managed to survive with.